Hi, this is Bob Devine with the Association for Light and Life, here tonight with our friend Sonya DeWitt. She's going to do a workshop on the steps on finding stillness within. And I'll just kind of turn it over to her and let her tell you more about herself and just go into her presentation tonight. So Sonya, welcome.
Hi, I just want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for giving me some time tonight. If you hear some noise in the background, there is one seriously big downpour occurring right now in Spokane. It's raining cats and dogs on my window in the office, so I do apologize if you're hearing a little patter. But I just wanted to give a quick intro as to who I am and why I think my opinion matters. I think that's something that we all want to know, why I'm taking your time. I've been a licensed therapist in Washington State since 1993, so it's 29 years now. It'll be 30 years next year. And I've practiced in multiple inpatient and outpatient psychiatric facilities in Washington, inpatient geriatric unit, inpatient adult unit, inpatient. Can you hear the thunder? I don't know if you can hear the thunder. There's a big thunderstorm now happening too, all of a sudden at once. Yeah, I've worked inpatient, outpatient. I've had multiple private practices in Langley, Oak Harbor, Bellingham, and Everett. And now I'm in Spokane and I'm doing only telehealth and serving everyone in Washington State. My most recent position was as a clinical director for a community mental health facility in another county. So I'm very pleased to share with you the information that has come about, and it's really life-changing. So it's very important to me to share it with you so that you can understand what your brain is doing. If you know anyone who has been struggling with any kind of anxiety, any kind of depression, this is going to be critical information. One of the things that I find with pretty much all of my clients is that calming down is very, very difficult right now. There's just so much stress going on. The speed of life is so much faster than it used to be, and the stressors are enormous. So what I want to teach you is based in science, okay? And that's an important thing. And I think it's especially poignant when we're talking about developing some silence, some stillness, and some spirituality. I ground my work in neuroplasticity, which is the cutting edge of brain research that is occurring right now. So on your screen, you'll see a word that's called neuroplasticity. And what this means is the brain's ability to rewire itself. There are new studies that are really amazing that show the nervous system and how it responds to stress. I want to teach you a technique called mindful breathing so that you will know how to take control of your limbic system. I don't know if any of you have seen a functional MRI, but this is a multi-million-dollar machine that gives real-time pictures that actually shows activity as opposed to just a static X-ray of an organ, tumors, bone tissue. So what is powerful in this particular picture is that you'll see on the bottom, can you see my mouse as it's going around? I don't know if you can see my mouse, or do you see it here? Neither? Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay. On the bottom left in the blue picture is an average brain. And so you will see that the activity is occurring pretty much all over the place. The other slides on the right-hand side show minute changes in the brain when it's actively doing something, looking at a fixed point on a picture, viewing a word, reading words, multiple words, and generating verbs. So there are different brain activities that take place when you're actually doing something. This picture is very important because this is a picture of a brain of a person that's depressed. You will see that there are only a few hot spots. And when I talk to my clients, I mention to them, your brain is offline. That's why you have no energy. That's why you have no motivation. That's why you want to sleep all the time. And you feel very stuck and hopeless because quite literally, you're not accessing your executive brain functioning. So if you look on the right, there's a diagram that shows a normal activity, which is basically a compilation that shows the green zone is that there is basically activity happening all over the brain. The red zone is fire hot. That's where the focalized energy is. With ADHD, you can see it's in the prefrontal lobe. Depression, it's in a very focalized area in the brain, as that other picture to the left shows. And then on the right, the anxiety really encompasses a large part of the brain. What has become really important in my practice is the information that we now have around the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. There are two systems. One is in the body that happens automatically when you sleep, when you eat, when you digest food. And then there's the sympathetic nervous system that is the flight or fight system. So what happens is when the limbic system gets activated, it completely changes your brain activity. And that's what I want to teach you about tonight. So by increasing your vagal tone, which is that orange nerve that goes all the way from the back of your brainstem down all the way to your butt, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and having higher vagal tone means that your body can relax faster after stress. This is a very important thing that we didn't have information about previously. I think it's really come about in the last 3 to 5 years that we now have this information. So this picture shows the neocortex, which is your executive functioning. That's the basic top part of your brain. The limbic system is inside. It's in between your ears and behind your eyes. And if you were to take your thumb and curl your fingers over it, that gives you an idea of how it's buried inside the brain itself. The back of the brain, I'll point out here in that red area, is the reptilian brain. It is literally a different material. It looks different. It looks like cauliflower. So what happens, and this is the key breakthrough that occurred in my private practice when I'm trying to help people relax and just calm down and start to feel better, is that we now know that the limbic brain is always on. When you wake up, T-Rex is there before you even get out of bed. So what happens is that the limbic brain is analyzing all the information that's coming in through your 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. That becomes the key element and strategic element that I want to teach you, that when you take control of your 5 senses, that controls your limbic system, that controls T-Rex, and that changes your subjective experience in life. You don't feel as much anxiety. You can calm yourself down and you can get refocused very quickly. So when
Excuse me, Sonny.
Yeah,
Excuse
sure.
me, Sonny. Did you say the reptilian? You said limbic brain is always on, but you meant
Yes.
reptilian brain, didn't you?
No, I did not. I meant
Okay.
limbic brain, and I'll explain why.
Thank you.
You'll see the neurological network that happens. So you'll see the processing as it goes through the brain. So either the neocortex takes over, depending upon what your 5 senses are seeing, right? Or it goes into fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. And if it goes into fight, flight, or freeze, if it recognizes or sees something that is upsetting, triggering, makes me angry, I just saw a car crash, I was in a car crash, things of that nature, then boom, my vagal nerve system gets activated, and then the reptilian brain is on. Okay. So the limbic responses are controlled by the reptilian brain. Mr. Tiny Hands has a very big mouth and very small brain, and he is not capable of doing anything other than fight, flight, or freeze. That's why we see so many people right now, especially during COVID, having a meltdown at the grocery store because they were wearing a mask. Okay, their brain is completely overloaded. They cannot process, and they're acting out emotionally, and their vagal nervous system is dysregulated completely. Now, this is an actual picture of your brain neurons. So there are two methods in which the brain neurons communicate. One is through electricity, which is what you see in these orange little highlighted areas at the end of the tendrils. And there is a chemical interaction that takes place in between those tendrils. That's how they talk. The neurons communicate to each other through those. So these brain neurons, they are bundles, and they hang together and they associate based upon memories and a particular experience. This becomes very important because when you get triggered, that part of your brain gets activated. All kinds of energy goes there. And then even though you're having a moment where you were, when I was 6 years old, I got hit by a car. Okay. So if I see a red car, I'm going to have a triggered response. So I go into my brain as a 6-year-old and I'm looking at the environment now, and I'm not able to see necessarily objectively unless I do vagal nerve regulation, some breathing, so that I understand what I'm experiencing subjectively is just a memory, a neurological activation that's taking place right now. So there is the ability now to actually repair damaged DNA. This is what it looks like. And I think it's important for you to see this. These are how the neurons talk to each other through this electrical unit, so that you can see that there are bundles that light up at a particular time. When you get upset, angry, furious, terrified, I have many clients that have panic disorders. One, I had a 19-year-old that couldn't even stand up when she was in Walmart. She had to lay down on the floor because the world started to spin because she was so terrified. So this is what it looks like. And I wanted to show that to you. There are 80 billion neurons in the brain. Each neuron communicates with 10,000 others. There are 100 trillion synapses. There are literally more interconnections in the brain than there are stars in the Milky Way. So there's a guy by name of Gary Weber, PhD, and he's got a fabulous video, and I've got a link here coming up. He did his some doctoral research, and he's made a career out of it now in studying consciousness and studying what your brain does when it's thinking. When I was in a PhD program, I took a class in consciousness, and it was one of the most abstract, obscure classes I've ever had. And I'm just very impressed with the fact that he was able to codify it to some degree. So what he did was he described how your brain goes into a lockup. So the event occurs, the limbic brain is analyzing the information, and you just saw the video around how the neurons are now responding to that stimulus: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. It goes into the neurological database in your brain. It finds similar data, all from the past. That's the key. Underline that sentence. It's all from the past. It then projects that data onto the present, and it interferes and interrupts with our ability to communicate in a fair, reasoned way if we are upset. That explains it. Okay, this is the science that explains why we blow up, why we turn into T-Rexes for no good reason. And then unfortunately, we become very judgmental with ourselves. We feel like we're bad people. Our spouses say, "You're just an asshole." You know, they make statements like that about you, and you take it to heart. You feel bad about yourself. But in fact, it's literally a neurological process that is taking place. So all reality is based upon perception, the information that's coming through your 5 senses, through the limbic brain. So all behavior is a result of a thought or a feeling. And so you have to ask yourself, am I calm or am I limbic right now? And that's very important when you start to get upset. Okay, I'm upset, I'm triggered, so I have to change what I'm doing right now in order to calm down. So how do I stop the limbic brain? Here's the breakthrough. This is an artist's rendition. of the vagal nerves. They go all the way from the brainstem all the way down into the butt, the tailbone. You see there's a ton of neurons and nerves in the stomach area. There's also this middle section that's highlighted in pink that I have an arrow by. Those vagal nerves are actually embedded in your rib cage. So that when you take a deep breath, it's like a cat getting a nice stretch. It makes all the difference in the world. And that singularly is how you stop the electrical impulses in the brain firing that are triggering T-Rex. Let me say that again. By taking a deep breath, you stretch, and I use my hands a lot when I'm doing these presentations, you stretch the rib cage and you stretch the vagal nerves, and it literally throws the switch in the fuse box for the brain so that you don't get upset. Now, mind you, that's only for a second or two. You probably have to take another few deep breaths, and you might have to breathe for a moment or two to come back down. But that's how you do it. When I teach this the very first session with every single client I have, including my couples. And in fact, sometimes it's more important that they get this information than anyone, because most of the time they show up to sessions wanting to rip each other's heads off. So the power of the vagal nerves in your rib cage is life-changing. Remember that when you get upset. Talk to your friends, teach your children. I have my clients teaching their children how to do this breathing exercise, which changes their behavior. So here's how I start. When you're upset, most people can't settle down. Okay, that's really where I start. Too upset to even think straight. You get home, your head is exploding with ideas, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you're mad about this, you're stressed about that, and there's a lot of pressures when you come home. There's the wife, there's the kids, there's the dogs that gotta be fed, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So I have a very simple 1, 2, 3 method of breathing. Breathe in is number 1. Slowly exhale through pursed lips like you're blowing on a candle. And the exhale is everything. Go slow. The third thing you do is, as you're exhaling, you say to yourself the words, let it go, just relax. It's just a thought, just a feeling. So 1, breathe in, feel your chest expand, your vagal nerves expand, and then slowly exhale through pursed lips and think the words, just relax. Let it go. It's just a feeling. That is the key. So when you do that, you restore chemical balance in the brain. Serotonin maintains its place at the end of those dendrites. Dopamine, glutamate, norepinephrine, all of those are the feel-good hormones, and those are important, and we want to keep them lubed, so to speak, lubing the neurological network. So I have this picture up as a representation of all the stress and the negative energy that comes out of you when you exhale. That becomes an important element in more of the advanced work that I do, where you connect up with the energy of the stress that you're feeling inside. So this is a very quick presentation. It is to teach you how to do the 1, 2, 3 breathe. Breathe in. Slowly exhale out. The exhale is everything. The exhale is everything. And I'm going to say it a third time. The exhale is everything. Do it slowly through pursed lips. That's the best. That is necessary. And when you're exhaling, that's when you say to yourself, just relax, let it go. Okay.
Can I make a comment here, Sonya?
Sure.
It's just, maybe you could answer this, because my wife often comments when I'm in a stressed mode or having a day that I breathe too much, that I'm making all sorts of noises and grunts. And I think I find myself kind of doing what you're saying here without consciously doing that. When I'm feeling stressed, I have a need to breathe and a need to exhale. And it's like, but I've never put a name to it or thought about it. So I just wondered if in some ways that can somehow be triggered subconsciously to almost like maybe knowing it without knowing it or something.
Yes, but you're missing the third piece, and that is by doing it consciously with intentionality, which is what I talk about in the third and fourth presentation. Intentionality, that drive, that focus is everything. That tells your body what you need to do with that energy, with that thought, with that obsessive thinking, with that issue that you're stuck on, with that bad feeling, that anger, that frustration, whatever it is. You're able to tell that energy, out of my body, just, I'm letting you go, just get out of me. That is, I can't hear you.
Being able to be conscious about it takes it to a different level than if you're just doing it randomly.
Yes, it's everything. It really, that's why these three components really have to be done together. There is a special synchrony that takes place when that occurs. So let me stop here for a second and go to the next presentation. This next one is longer. It is a bit more involved, and it talks about a lot of the healing tones that now are a part of our healing profession, that is just now starting to hit the field of psychology. It's a big deal. It's cutting edge stuff. So what I have done is I have put together some videos that show you the power of sound in transforming your brain chemistry, your brain neurological network, your feeling states. And now there's cutting edge research, and literally it'll blow your mind when you see it, that have discovered that the 40 hertz is a magical number. And I actually just found a video that shows you that sound, or it presents that sound to you so you can hear at least what the tone sounds like. So what I want to do here is start the slideshow from the beginning. There we go. Okay, so by using these musical frequencies, I have my clients begin a sleep hygiene program. It is the mental dental floss, so to speak. It's the mental floss that you need at the end of the day so that you can get rid of all the junk that wants to stay stuck in your consciousness, including your subconscious, which of course, when you're sleeping, when you enter a dream state, that's when you start processing all of that riffraff data that you're trying to make sense of, that you experienced during the day. So for example, nightmares. That is your subconscious taking an experience of frustration that you may have had with your boss, and all of a sudden your wife is an alien in your nightmare dream. And so there is this combination of energy and brain activity that starts to create its own movie. It's as if you've got a Hollywood director creating a movie script when you sleep. By doing this sleep hygiene program, you won't have that. It clears up all the stuff that you collect during the day, and you're able to just kind of, when you lay down, you go to sleep. So by taking control of your sympathetic nervous system and your reactions to stress, you put T-Rex on a leash. So this is where I'm trying to take you from the breathing, the first step, into this more sophisticated program. So the first step is most important to stop you from continuing when you're feeling really angry, really frustrated, somebody cuts in front of you. Okay, you just stop, breathe, relax, let it go. If you don't, you go into fight, flight, or freeze. That's T-Rex, and all of a sudden you're doing road rage. Okay, that's how it happens. So again, the idea is 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. This is how you control your limbic brain. So the healing power of sound, the key is in tricking your 5 senses and getting them to focus on something that is not associated with the past and not associated with anything that has to do with trauma. In other words, it can't have anything to do with people because people stress us the hell out. So that's why these videos are all about nature. They're very soothing and relaxing to look at. This guy is the one that I think, Aline, you definitely want to be watching him. He's the one that's done research for where he's found that music is now the new medicine. This is a TED Talk that's on YouTube. It's by Dr. Lee Bartell. He is brilliant. And this is music, medicine, sound at a cellular level. So there are some slides that I took from his presentation, but I don't want to take too much time because it's like, I think about a 20-minute YouTube video. So I extracted a few of the key elements from that video to share with you, okay? So one of the slides was that he found that the 40 hertz is the healing sound that reduces pain, reduces Alzheimer and fibromyalgia symptoms. Wow, that is a breakthrough. He described how sound comes in, goes through the skin, through the spinal cord, the ear collects the sound. So he diagrammed in this particular slide how it hits the brain cells. He identified that not all sound is music, but music is sound, and indeed it is. So by stimulating cells with sound, you can reduce the risk and impact of some of the common health problems that we have right now. He identified the waves per second, the hertz level, and the brain wave category that it relates to. You can probably take a screenshot of this if you want as well. And this is where it became very interesting for him to find the 40 hertz per second was a very important brain wave frequency. This is actually literally a picture of a brain cell. The green is the energy, the sound, the energy of the sound moving through the cell. And so in his video, it shows it in real time moving. Okay, so that was really exciting. You'll see, it hopefully reminds you of what I just showed you in the prior slide about how neurons talk together. And at the end of those dendrites there, that's where the chemical interactions are, and also where the electricity goes from one neuron to another neuron. This again, another picture of neuron cells. And this one here was where I showed you the damaged DNA, where the neurons that fire together wire together. This is the same thing. So it shows you what your brain is actually doing and why it's important to control the energy, to control the limbic system, which controls the vagal nerve system. Otherwise, it just fires on its own and you don't have any ability to control it. Okay, so he found that the neurons manage memory, cognition, hand-eye motor coordination, of course, the limbic fight, flight, or freeze system. It manages pain and your mood. So the neurons manage it all. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. And this is the cutting edge stuff. He did some tests and he put speakers in chairs, in these physioacoustic chairs. And he hit the 40 hertz vibration. And this is how he did the treatment modalities. He found the fibromyalgia patient that he was testing. She stopped using all of her medication. She slept better, was less depressed, missed fewer days at work, and her chiropractor noted more spinal stability. This is the sound of 40 hertz, in case you wanted to know. This is binaural beats too. You'll just hear one tone. Can you hear that? It's on the loudest setting. Okay, nonetheless, what happens with binaural beats? That's when two tones of just a little variance are played in separate ears simultaneously.
I messed you up a little bit. I think I turned off yours because I was trying to turn on the sound.
Oh,
And so you might have to share screen again to put your PowerPoint back up. But I hopefully shared sound now. And then when you go to share screen at the bottom left, there should be an option to share sound.
yeah. Okay,
Make
let
sure
me
you
see.
click the, when you go to share screen at the bottom left, there should be a thing that says share sound.
Yeah, I got to do it again. Whoa, what's that coming from? Shoot, well, that came out of nowhere. Hang on. Yeah.
I think, just a second, I'm sharing, so I'm gonna stop shared there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to fix it on my end. Sorry, my apologies.
That's all right. That's all right. No
So now
problem.
you should go to share screen and then there's a share sound at the bottom. You have to click before you hit share.
Yeah, let me see. I got to go back to the Zoom meeting there. There we go. Share screen. Let's do that again.
And then there should be a share sound option.
Yep, share. Well, it's not showing me any other options at this point. That doesn't matter. It's just a tone. In
Okay.
order for you to hear the tone effectively, because it's out of sync a little bit, you have to have headphones. Okay, because by doing that, the brain is forced to integrate that sound. And by forcing the brain to do that little shift of integration, it really creates brainwave synchrony. That binaural beats is something that is taught through eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, which is a particular technique that I was taught as well for post-traumatic stress. So let's see here. That's interesting how the screen is now. Okay, there we go. So he had, this is another thing that just blew my mind. Sure, Eileen, I can't hear you. Eileen, you have you're on mute. Eileen, you're on mute. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Eileen. Okay, well, when you get off mute, Eileen, just shout out. Okay, so what he did was the study results. These are remarkable because these results came only after 3 hours of subjecting the clients to these tones. So they had 30 minutes of 40 hertz stimulation twice a week for 3 weeks, and they had all kinds of remarkable results. This is a Next Neural Lounge, and it costs about $3,000, and that is the future of treatment for many disorders. So I just want to tell you, this is the future. It's going to probably going to take about 10 to 15 years for it to become more common, but the results are phenomenal to treat fibromyalgia, Parkinson's. It's just incredible results. So only after 3 hours of treatment, 52% of the patients received an increase of a reduction of symptoms by an average of 40%. So that's just nuts after 3 hours that people would get that kind of a result. So there are other applications: blood flow treatment, reduced impact of strokes, reduced risk of heart failure, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's treatment, increases bone density, reduces depression, anxiety, panic disorders, PTSD. It's shown to have remarkable physical health and mental health applications. So this is coming. Be advised, it's coming. Now, this is the video that blew my mind. There's going to be a point in the video, golly, this is really important for you to hear the video. Boy, oh boy. All right, well, we'll see how it goes. I will stop the video to show you. Let me know if you can hear it at all.
So do this, exit the share screen. And then when you go to share screen again, before you actually start it, there's an option to share sound.
Okay.
So then go to back to share screen, and right when you first click on it, then at the bottom left, there should be a thing that says share sound. At least it is on mine.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. There it is. Okay. So if I hit share screen.
And then at the bottom left, before you even get to this,
got it.
you found it. Okay, good. Good.
Found
So
it. Yes.
hit
Yeah.
share
This is
sound and then share screen, and then it should let you play sound.
great. Yeah, you've got to see this. Okay, you've got to hear this too. It's phenomenal. So these are real experiments. This is not Hollywood.
The film you're about to see has no characters. If you spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter.
This guy's brilliant. Okay, did you just see that? Water comes out. In my entire life of 67 years, whenever I've poured water out, it's always come down in one flow. That shows you what happens. Look at that. Now you'll notice that normally when something water drops down, it creates a ripple effect. These sounds are emanating from underneath the water, pushing upwards against gravity. This is so profound because it explains so much of the impact of energy in a way that we have not been able to really articulate and identify and describe in scientific terms. So it's just amazing.
Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
taking a different shape, even through the gas that is lit on fire. The volume then, as it increases, the fire gets higher. Oh my God. Unbelievable. So, why is all of that important? Because we are just too stressed out, and we do nothing but go home, turn on the television, watch more stress, watch crime shows, listen to rap music, listen to a lot of rock music. If we don't start to change and take control of what is hitting our five senses, we are going to get more and more stressed, more and more out of control. There's this thing that is involved. So here's the next level. I want you to understand that I have to teach you also about solfeggio frequencies. What are they? They're part of an ancient scale that was rediscovered in 1974 by Dr. Joseph Leo. It's a 6-tone sequence of special electromagnetic frequencies. These frequencies were originally with Tibetans and many indigenous tribes in Australia, South America, and Africa hundreds of years ago. And if you haven't heard the throat singing, this is what the Tibetan monks do. And again, it's the tone. They're creating that. Here is the Australian didgeridoo. Notice any similarity? Yeah. So this is something now that we're seeing in terms of patterns in musical frequencies. And I am identifying, and some people, some scientists are now identifying that these tones have tremendous healing power. Okay, so here's the next level. Bioacoustic sound medicine. It is a thing. That is what is being researched. That's the formal name it's called, and it's called Cymatics. I just showed you the video of Cymatics, where geometric patterns are created in cells or in the fundamental elements, water, electricity, air, gas, when applying these tones. Bioacoustic sound medicine is teaching the students in medicine that sounds are imprinting in every cell. Now here's where it gets really exciting. Aline, this is gonna blow your mind. Research at Stanford is showing that sound acoustics, bioacoustic sound medicine, is helping to create new heart tissue. New heart tissue. Yeah. Remember when we were growing up, we were thinking, oh, someday we'll like regrow our arms or something, you know? Well, here it is. This is real. So this is another example of cymatics in a liquid. Shows you different forms that occur depending upon the tone. These are solfeggio frequencies. So this is a picture of heart cells with cymatics, with bioacoustic sound vibrations hitting the cell. It pushes the cell with a simple change in frequency and amplitude. It puts the heart cells in motion. It guides them to a new position and holds them in place. This is how they regrow when the tone keeps them in the new position and they can start to regenerate and connect together in a new position. So they're working to create new tissue to replace parts of damaged hearts. And it's also, bioacoustics is also used now, starting to be used in reconstructing other organ tissue and blood vessels. The binaural beat therapy I talked to you about earlier, it's a form of sound wave therapy. It is where each left and right ear receive a different frequency and tone, but the brain perceives them as a single tone. It's used in EMDR. So these frequencies, 174 is known to be a natural anesthetic, and these frequencies go all the way up to the 900s. So in 2019, the NIH, which is the government federal study system that we have, that you have to have NIH funding and research even before you can go forth and publish or create medication. So it's a big deal. When NIH does a study, you have landed, and it becomes very, very accepted in the field of medicine. So they found that binaural beats creates enhanced motor performance, hand-eye coordination, enhanced mood, reduces stress and anxiety, increased focus, concentration, improved confidence, better long-term memory. So there are different alpha, beta, delta, theta levels. Alpha is associated with relaxation, beta is associated with concentration and alertness, delta and theta are associated with sleep. And so that's why when I have my clients, and I recommend to you to do this a half hour before you go to bed, I have my clients, turn off the electricals, all the things that are overstimulating us, get off social media, things of that nature, and TV, and do this solfeggio frequency for a minimum of 10 minutes, ideally 15 to 20. It takes 10 minutes for brainwave synchrony to take place. So that is very important. So you got to sit there for 10 minutes, and I'll show you what to do with it. So these various levels, 396 is associated with fear and guilt, 417 with negativity, 528 with DNA, peace of mind and clarity, 600s is associated with interpersonal relationships, 700 with emotional stability, 800 with intuition, and 900 is with a feeling of oneness, and is means awakening and becoming interconnected to the universe. So I said it before, trick your limbic brain. It's the easiest way to get control of your spinning mind and endless thoughts. Remember, T-Rex can only do three things: fight, flight, or freeze. So how many neurons are there in the brain? 10 million sensory neurons. By using your senses, you control what you're focusing on, and you control your limbic system. So sight, how many optic nerves are there in the human eye? There's about 1 million nerve fibers that carry visual messages in your brain. Sound, there's about 25,000 nerve endings that are set into motion that then transform into electrical impulses. So phase one, the visual meditation, and this is the step-by-step sequence to get people to relax, calm down, disconnect from the panic emotions that they're experiencing. So phase one is visual meditation technique with solfeggio frequencies. It's based on controlling the five senses, letting go of thoughts, stress, and anxiety, helps you create a calm, relaxed state of awareness, and helps you build a new neurological network. It is literally how you create neuroplasticity in your brain. So here's another scientist by the name of Gary Weber. He's the one that studied consciousness, and he has a fabulous YouTube video. It's called The End of Suffering and the Default Mode Network. He suggests that suffering occurs because your brain is on all the time, doing nothing but blah, 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 endless thoughts. And so by doing this stillness practice, it helps people to stop the noise, and you take control of your nervous system. So the question is, how do I do it? I mentioned before, Limbic Brain analyzes, goes into the database, finds similar data from the past and projects it onto the present. So an interesting study that he did through the University of Virginia. He had graduate students, and they were expected to sit there for a certain period of time and just close their eyes and be silent. They had a choice to do that, or if they couldn't, if they were too bored or too upset or too frustrated to just sit there, they could choose to give themselves a shock, literally a shock, you know. They were so unhappy with their thoughts, they chose to deliver shocks to themselves rather than just sit there with their eyes closed. That's how uncomfortable people are with this whole idea of stillness and silence. And if you really wrap your mind around what that means, no wonder we are a hot mess as a culture, as a society. We cannot calm down. And so what I put together here is a systematic approach. I've operationalized how to acquire and achieve an experience of stillness. So in his study, most of the men did this. They would rather shock themselves than be miserable with their own thoughts of whatever noise was going on in their head. Now, this is the visual meditation exercise. Here's an example of how you trick your brain to float so that you're not thinking about blah, 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 blah. You trick your brain by looking at these beautiful visuals and listening to the solfeggio sounds. So for 15 to 20 minutes every night, you sit there, and I want you to get bored. Literally. Sitting there, breathing, exhaling, just let it go, let go of the stress. And when you get to the point where you say to yourself, wow, that's interesting. You're not thinking about today anymore. You're not thinking about the boss. You're not thinking about the wife, the husband, the stress, the problems. You're actually in the now, which is what Gary Weber talks about, being fully present consciously in the now. So by using these videos, using the visual meditation technique where you're looking and floating, you relax. At a certain point, after about a month of doing this, you're going to realize it's great, but it's kind of boring. Then you're ready for the next level. But for right now, this is how you sequentially, step by step, go from being stressed, tension, I can't even close my eyes, I have nightmares, I have a really hard time sleeping, to a place of when I go to bed, yeah, I'm mellow and I'm able to relax. I have this music playing in between sessions. I have it on after a hard day when I'm listening to a lot of trauma. And by the time I'm chopping vegetables, can let it go. So here are the list of what I would recommend to you and to recommend to other people. There are about 5 of them that are just awesome. Why are they awesome? Because they don't have people. People suck. People stress us out. They do nothing but that's what neurologically we have associated with stress, with trauma, with pain, with frustration. It's just humans are not good for us neurologically to calm down. Mother Nature is the magic. Solfeggio frequencies, these healing tones are the magic. So Nature Healing Society, subscribe to that. Awakening Planet is another one, subscribe to that. Spirit Tribe Awakening is another one. And Music for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Again, the drone footage that they come up with is just fabulous. And it's a visual relaxation. You're able to let go of all the busyness in your head and you calm down. I guarantee you, you do this 15, 20 minutes a night before bed, you sleep like a baby. My clients are transformed by doing this. They're lovely visuals. So, daily visualization and relaxation practice. Set your alarm an hour before bedtime to train your brain to start to slow down and relax. Turn off social media, turn on the solfeggio frequencies, these visual meditation channels. Float and let go of the day. Do the visual meditation practice, breathe, exhale. The exhale is everything, don't forget that. Retrain your brain to let go of the stress and do that 15, 20 minutes a day before bed. And it literally will change your life. It creates calmness, centeredness, you're clearer, more focused, and you're more intentional in thought, word, and action. And all of these become very important in future sessions. I have 2 more presentations that deal with taking it to the next level after you do visualization, meditation, then closing your eyes. But you have to learn how to, you have to actually rewire your brain neurologically so you're not always going straight into limbic responses. So it is the solution. This is how you become your best self. This is how you open up all the possibilities that you never realized you could access in a systematic way. So, any questions you guys might have? Yeah, Eugenia.
Always. Always. Early on in the presentation, you showed the ADD brain and the
Right.
fact that, and I'm aware of that. I know exactly what that is like.
Yeah.
So when they were looking at these people who had different kinds of brains like that, did they have uniform results, or was there a difference in the different kinds of brain patterns that people have?
Uniform results, that's the thing that's transformative here. That's the miraculous part of it. That it might take you a little longer. You might break from being in this relaxed, tranquil place of mind. You might scatter for a moment, but you come back. Again, it's about rewiring the brain. It literally creates new neurological pathways. All of those neurons, all of those electrical circuits that get wired, it creates a new wiring. This whole stuff started after the Gulf War, when the vets came back with, they were amputees and they had to learn how to walk. So the scientists said, hey, let's put some electrodes on their brain and see if we can stimulate their brain to do a certain thing so that they can actually send a certain electrical impulse into the muscle group to move their legs so they can start walking. That's how all of this started to really break through and break into a whole new area of study. So that's how we learned that neuroplasticity exists, is because of what happened in the Gulf War. The brains were able to grow and create new neurological networks when their leg was blown off. Yeah.
Do you remember many, many, many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they used a technique with babies called patterning. Was that really part of this as well? I mean, it was kind of training. I had a cousin whose daughter had a child. She would not walk. She would only scoot. And they did what they called patterning, which was having people help her actually move the body
Right.
in a repetitive fashion in order to retrain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brain. Now, is that,
It creates, yeah, if you were to put her brain in an fMRI machine, you would see that by moving her physical body in a particular way would create a neurological excitement in an area of the brain. And so it goes both ways, okay? It goes from the body into the brain and vice versa. But the core issue in terms of psychology is the use of the five senses, and how that is the method that we take in information, and it is the method by which we evaluate whether or not we're safe. We're still functioning as if we're living in trees and living in caves. I mean, it's prehistoric brains. Our brains have not evolved with the speed that our technology has. So, you know, the size of T-Rex is huge in the human brain still. And so we still have a long ways to go in terms of our evolution, in terms of brain organic growth. But by using the limbics, by using the five senses and using solfeggio frequencies, that has just, in terms of the potential that we have for healing now, self-healing, it's phenomenal. Drug companies are going to hate that chair, that Lexo lounge thing with the acoustics speakers in it. They're going to hate it because they're not going to get paid all that money for all these SSRIs, for all the pain medication, all that stuff. Not when you can use acoustics. You saw that video on Cymatics. You saw water not going straight down. You saw water going in a spiral. And when you think about 90% of the body is liquid, geez, really, you know, the amount of change we can affect through sound is phenomenal. It's just about to start happening. But like I say, the scientists, they all agree it's probably still about 10 years out. Yeah, Dolores.
You talked about binaural beats. Is that different than the solfeggio? Do we have to watch those with our
Yes.
headphones on, the solfeggios?
It's different. No, it's a different thing. So binaural is a different thing. Binaural is really important. I have to use that sort of thing a lot with my clients because of trauma. Binaural actually helps the brain, because the brain, remember, we have left and right hemispheres. And so binaural works on the idea of bilateral integration, which means you can get bilateral integration and stimulation, again, just like what you're saying, by walking. So with the babies, having them walk, taught their brains to configure to meld together, to grow together in a particular area. That's what I have my clients do when they are dealing with stress and anxiety on a daily basis. They have to do a certain amount of walking in order to unlock their brain and in order to grow new neurological networks in a new position that's away from the limbic highway to hell. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, so should some of us start with the binaural beats, or
No,
can we do
Don't
it?
worry about binaural. Binaural is really more focused with trauma.
Well, what if somebody has trauma? I know
Well,
people with trauma.
you can. I would limit that to listening only for 10 minutes, but you got to listen with headphones. My system, I just have to tell you that the visual meditation works just about as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Because the binaural, a lot of times the binaural beats, they don't have the visual floaty, beautiful scenes. They just have these tones, a picture. And when you have a focused picture like that, I don't recommend that because the limbic brain gets bored, especially when you're traumatized. You're going to have your brain going, what am I doing? What's going on? I'm stressed out. I'm uncomfortable. And it starts going in overdrive. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. So binaural, it's not as important. I was just showing you the importance of it in terms of healing and treatment modalities now. But this visual meditation thing, that'll just, I'm telling you, on a rough day, putting that stuff on in the background, it helps retrain your brain. I can have that music. I have music on in between sessions, and it just, within just a couple of moments, I'm just exhaling and relaxing. Eugenia.
Again, people, I use massage therapy a lot.
Right.
And my massage therapist always has the exact same thing going for the time that she's with me. I assume she uses it for every patient. I never asked, but I'm going to. She uses different ones for different people.
Mm-hmm.
But it does help shut down chatter.
Yeah, that's it. It does. That's the thing. That's the miracle of it. And it takes the research shows it takes about 10 minutes to create brainwave synchrony, listening to solfeggio frequencies.
But the individual has to kind of concentrate only on that with the breathing, right?
That's what makes it go a lot faster. Sometimes, I mean, I'll be honest, I've had some really rough days where I'm sitting there just having a hard time focusing. I'm just thinking about this thing and worrying about that. Oh my God, I got taxes. Oh my God, about this. It's just your brain gets on fire sometimes. So sometimes it's harder. It's more of a struggle. But by consistently doing it, you literally retrain the brain. It works. But remember, when you're doing the exhale, you got to say the words, relax, let it go. You just have to tell your body, let it go, just let it go. That's key. If you don't, you're just breathing and you're not really integrating that whole neurological network. So you see what I'm getting at here? That by adding the thinking part to it, you create this whole neurological network, a new circuitry, as opposed to what it is that you've been doing for the last 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever years. Bobby, sorry.
Give a preview, if you can, of what would come next in your next presentations, so that people know, because I would like to do this as a series and put these on our website. And so where would you go from here, I guess, is the next step?
Yeah, so the visual meditation is followed up by discovering stillness. Okay, look at my PowerPoints here. Let me see what the name of it is. Stillness begins phase 3, mindful breathing, and it's a quick review, and it's a lot faster. There's only about 16 slides, where, and I can show you this particular page, hang on, that shows you the series. Okay, screen sharing. I think you're seeing that now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the mindful meditation phases. So it starts off with breathing, goes into visual meditation, where we discussed at length all the tricks of tricking the limbic brain, the 5 senses, by distracting and tricking it. So then the third one is finding the stillness. That's where you develop your superpower, so to speak, and you meet your inner self. And the deepening the stillness, that's where you really build a relationship with your best self. And the final phase is where you're dialoguing with your highest self. You can set your goals, you commit to being your best self. And those are much shorter, briefer outlines of that whole idea of what to focus on, right? Because the visual meditation is, it sets it up and you know what to do. You can when you turn that on, when you get bored, then you're ready for the next step because you've quieted your brain down. I hope you understand that. By doing that, when you start to get bored, you're ready. That's it. That's worked. It has created a state of calmness in your brain where you can take in information and not be overstimulated by internal noise. So the stillness practice, and you close your eyes and you focus on your breathing and you just calm down and you literally focus on the stillness in between thoughts. Simple. It's super, super simple. And then from there you deepen it and you develop a conversation, a dialogue with your inner self. Best self is ultimately the goal that I have my clients focus on, where you can actually, for the first time in your life, identify what your purpose is. I mean, seriously, how many of us know what the hell we're here for? Most of my clients don't. We're just struggling to get by every day, busting our ass, working ourselves to death, stressed out of our mind, broke. Everything is more and more expensive. It's just really frustrating and it's really depressing working so hard anymore. So this practice helps you just give yourself, your spirit, a nice big cold drink of water. It's very refreshing and it sets you up to actually begin to conceptualize, now that I've calmed down, who am I? You know, and those are the questions that I ultimately, when I work with my clients, I want to get them to. When I can get my client to start to think about, who the hell am I? What do I want? Wow. All right, let's all stand up and applause, because that is truly the point at which now you can start making some choices. Now you're not just being little freaking tiny hands with a big mouth. Okay, responding to everything in a fight, flight, or freeze method. So that's pretty much what I got.
That point, is that where the motivation?
Yeah.
You said
Yes.
It was this stuff was good for healing motivation. I didn't quite get that, but
The motivation comes
is
later
that
on.
once you find what you're here for, is that what
Yeah, you've got to calm down the anxiety and the trauma and the panic, the depression symptoms. Those higher levels of self-awareness, existential questions. What's my purpose in life? What is the meaning to life? You can't even get to that, Michael, until you've calmed your brain down and have a state of calm inside your head. There are a lot of people, you know, obviously people in this group, most of us have a higher level of that, but my clients and the people that I'm concerned about, I want to help create a bridge, how to get there, right? Most of the people I know and I work with, they don't know how to get to that place of stillness because their head is just full of so much crap. Oh my God. Yeah. Eugenia.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to me. My mother at a very early age always made me stop whatever was going on and stop, and she'd say, now take a deep breath, count to 10, let's get quiet. And whenever any activity was going on or problem or whatever, depending upon the age, I would be sent to my room to think about such things. And I honestly do believe that I got into the busy, run like a rat myself, but I've always had the ability to go by myself for a while,
Yeah,
and get to that point. I wouldn't say I use these steps, but when you start showing me these steps, I do think that I can reach that dialogue, and that I think that that's when the TA steps
yes,
in.
yes, absolutely. That's when your higher self. See, here's what I teach my clients. You can't even hear your higher self when your head is full of noise. You can't. My inner guide, my inner voice, my best self always whispers. It doesn't yell. You know?
But you
It's
can
always a
have
whisper.
a dialogue, and if you can then quiet down, you can have the dialogue of whatever it is that you're thinking about. And it can be higher level things, you know, like what is my purpose or whatever.
Right.
But when you shut up, that's when,
Yeah.
that's when the TA steps in and gives you the insights. And I actually can kind of do that sometimes when I'm not even in a quiet space. I'm alone, but not necessarily in a really quiet space, but I can do that sometimes, not very often, but sometimes. But this gives me more of a mindful way of looking at that process.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I mentioned when I started, when I joined this group, is that I wanted to operationalize this process, so that I could teach it to my clients, and look forward to them having, you know, a real definitive qualitative change in their life, and it's work.
Do you think that each one of us who have probably experienced this, can we teach this to others?
Absolutely. That's my goal. I'm
So-
not trying to make any money on this. I want this information to go out. I want people to understand there is science behind it now for the first time. These videos are all on YouTube, man. Go ahead, click. You know, it's one of my favorite things to do is I try to keep up on TED Talks, because why? That's where the Ivy League schools are having their top educators, their top researchers do presentations. Why? Because it's worldwide. They want to get that information out. They want to inspire other scientists. They want to get funding for their programs. And so they want to brag about what it is that they've come up with.
Well, I think you should do a TED Talk very soon.
Right. I'm just capturing from what other people have done, you know, really. So I'm just excited about sharing with you. Scott, you wanted to say something? I can't hear you, buddy. You're on mute.
I think
You're still on
Aline
mute.
had her hand up too.
Yeah, Aline.
Aline dropped off.
Oh, crap. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I
You're
can't,
still
I
on,
can't
you're
hear you.
still on mute, Scott.
Hey, sorry, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Hallelujah. That was just one of the most remarkable presentations, and it exceeded my expectations.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
It was absolutely, and I could just relate to so many of the things, having, you know, anxiety issues sometimes, and some of the triggers.
Yeah.
And as a potential, you know, senior citizen with some of these nasty brain issues and things, it
Yep.
gives me great hope. But just from a universal sort of perspective, like, I was glad that I was just going to bring up when other people were talking about where that I think it helps clear the path for better and more effective communication with our TAs. Because I've noticed just trying a number of different meditation exercises, early in, say, for even 10 minutes or at night. Very helpful, but I think these are like almost supercharged
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
opportunities to sort of just get yourself calm, as you were saying, and and there are triggers for all of us. For me, it's people who act in an unloving,
Yeah. Yeah.
sociopathic manner, like who
Yep.
just are in it for themselves, and the dollar is their god.
That's right. That's right.
And I've been hurt and abused, and I know so many people who have had that life or entrepreneurial
Yeah.
experience or betrayal of trust from loved ones, all the things you probably experience or hear
Mhm.
about from your patients.
Yeah.
When I was reading through everything you sent, it's just a fantastic opportunity for healing.
Mhm.
And thank you for articulating it so very, very well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Normally, I'm a lot more energized and fired up about it, but I guess I'm a little tired.
No, you're not.
Oh, I think you're pretty charged up and energized.
Yeah, it's changed everything. I tell you, after doing this work for nearly 30 years, seriously, this is crazy. I get results from my clients doing the breathing that day. Okay. It's just, it's better than medication, man. It's crazy. And then when they start to do the visual meditation, then they actually start to sleep. And so for those of us that actually have a spiritual practice, when you add this trick into it, it just gets you dialed in faster. And then that being said, I mean, I'll be the first to admit there are some days I sit there and I've got nothing but CNN playing in my head, the war in Ukraine and all kinds of stuff. So,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
As concerns sound, we used to play sometimes at the assisted living facilities, and we'd go to the Alzheimer's part,
Right.
and especially the old show tunes. We'd play those old songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sing a verse or two.
They
and
would know the words, wouldn't
they
they?
would know the words clear as a bell.
Clear as a bell.
These people with no memory left. It was
It's
totally
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah, and those Alzheimer's patients, a lot of times, they're nonverbal. They're just completely, their brains are just gone. If you do a functional fMRI on them, there are big blank spots. And so this 40 hertz, man, now that I have the sound, actually, let me just play the tone for you. Let me see if I can find it. What is it? There it is, 40 hertz. Okay. Okay, so let me get back into the share, resume share. There, whoops, is that the one? Nope, I got to stop there on that one. Hang on. Give me a moment. I have to get out of different screens. There it is. Okay.
We don't have it. We don't have to see it. We just need to hear it.
I know, but in order for me to get it,
Okay.
for you
It's in
to
here. Yeah.
do it, yeah. So let me do this. Can you hear this? It's just one tone. Now, the solfeggio is much easier to listen to than this.
No.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yes.
Oh, maybe it is coming on. I didn't hear it at first.
Yeah, it's just kind of sounds like a buzz almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's 40. So what's interesting is that when I'm listening to some of these solfeggios, I can hear a little bit of that every now and then. I can kind of hear it, and you can almost feel it. And so that's one of the things when you have a large speaker, it really vibrates more. And so again, it hits your cells. See, that's what's so exciting about this stuff, man. That makes my brain just explode. It's like this is cellular, man. You know, it is hitting our cells and our cells vibrating. Yes, Aline, I'm so glad you're back.
Well, I don't know how I got off, but I'm glad to be back. I have one question for you. Earlier, when you were talking about, calming down the subconscious while we're sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
what I've been finding is I'm working on so many different things, and they're beyond a little beyond my understanding. And when I go to bed at night, I focus on them. And when I wake up in the morning, and I can even do this taking naps, I ask Michael and Mother Spirit to give me clarity.
Yeah.
And when I wake up in the morning, suddenly it's all come together.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about shutting down that subconscious, I don't want to shut that subconscious down.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. What I was talking about was shutting down the subconscious processing of limbic stress. Because if you don't, yeah. So because if you have had, a stressful interaction at the grocery store. I mean, I was at the grocery store, and this was a while back, some guy was starting to lose it and, do a Karen, and so these traumatic events, you play them in your head over and over and over and over. And so if you don't do that visual meditation technique, that's what's going to process when I go to sleep at night. Okay, then I'm going to have some nightmare about some guy going off and doing something, my brain will just get creative. My subconscious will get creative and come up with some bizarro monster movie, in order to process that. So it's a different thing entirely than what you're talking about. You're talking about an advanced level of using intentionality, which is what I talk about in the third and fourth of the sequence. Intentionality, that's why I stick that in there with the breathing, adding the intentionality of relax, let it go, where you're telling your body, you're telling your neurons, no, I don't need that stress. I don't need that energy. I'm going to let it go. And I literally kind of feel like I'm pushing it out of my chest. And that's why that picture of visualizing all that clouds, of breathing is very helpful to keep that in your mind. But you're talking about a different thing, Aline.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you another question. One of my friends gave me this wonderful idea of playing the sound of a certain frequency,
right,
with a glass of water. And boy, that gives me so much energy.
Wow.
I love that. I used to take a water to hydrate, to make the water more hydrated. But this playing this frequency is just an amazing thing. I think it helps my whole body because, of course, we're water. So I'm putting this wonderful frequency through my whole body. So I just wanted to say while you're talking about frequency.
I think it's absolutely true. I think it's true. We saw some videos of that, and that's what they talk about with that 40 hertz, that it's had a tremendous impact on, and that's why they're talking about the impact of 40 hertz on blood flow. Okay, in terms of bioacoustic medicine, they're talking about the use of bioacoustic medicine in changing blood flow, heart problems, vascular problems. It's just, wow,
Thank you so much when you say that. The only problem I think I have is arrhythmia, And I think that this might be a wonderful thing to do. I'll try the 40 hertz.
Yeah, it's an electrical. So the arrhythmia is an electrical problem. Okay.
Right.
A muscular and electrical problem. So it's one of those things that lounge chair costs $3,200 and $32.50 is what it costs. I would imagine with time, another 10 years from now, get them for, $1,000. It'll be a lot cheaper. And we will be getting prescriptions for it, so that I fully expect that the physical therapist office that we go to do physical therapy, they will have these lounge chairs where you lay down and you're there for a half an hour twice a week. You know, they had these results from only a total of 3 hours of treatment. 3 hours created a 50% change in these patients with fibromyalgia, these incredible pain that they experience in their muscles and in their joints. So I just think it's miraculous what's happening now. And I think we're really on a cusp of transformation. So
Well, I just want to say, I know you are 100% right. I've been following the same thing myself.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you for sharing this. And at some point, I will call you and talk to you about some of these other things I've been finding out.
I would love that.
Thank you so
I
much.
would love that. I would love that. So it's just my pleasure to try to put these things together. So I got a little help for that too. All right. Any other questions?
Sonia,
Oh,
I am-
sorry.
I am really glad you did this.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I-
I'm so
I-
glad.
I watched that one with the self-frigio,
Uh-huh.
you can see, the one you had on screen
Yeah.
with the seascapes and that.
Yeah.
And I got most of the way through and this is not working. I'm getting bored.
Perfect.
Not working
Perfect.
on me.
Celebrate that. Celebrate that. That
Thank
means
you.
you're advanced. You're advanced, Michael. That's what it means. So it's very powerful. It's informative. Here's the word. It's diagnostic. That's what it is. When you are bored as a clinician, that means that experience, subjective experience of boredom, is diagnostic. It means you're ready. You're finally at that place. And so you float along for a while and then you go, okay, I'm floating. Now what? It's
Yeah.
perfect. It's perfect. I love it. Yeah,
think
so you're
Lois had
ready
a
for real
question.
stillness.
Oh,
You
hi,
did?
Bobby, you're still there. Aline, could you please put the water frequency up on the all Google list so we can all treat our water with high energy?
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, because Alan has to drink 3 quarts a day because of his kidney stone, but if we had better water, maybe it would help.
Right. Also, there's another product to give you hydrate your water, and I'll give you that information too.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Good. Good.
And thank you, Sunny. This was great. I can't wait for the next.
Yeah.
Great.
Lois, talking
They're
about
really
the water,
short. The next 2 are really short. So the second one was the big kahuna. That was the big daddy.
This just provides a whole new way of the dimension that we are aiming for.
Yeah.
Not only for ourselves, but whatever our group can do together. It really is important.
You know what it inspires me? It just really creates that. It explains to me the methodology of how it is we communicate mind to mind. That's a whole nother thing that's happening now. They've got some science and some research of people communicating mind to mind electrically. There was, and I almost made a slide. Well, actually I did make a presentation on it, where the human actually was also connected to a rat, and the human moved the rat's tail. And again, this is electrical. And so that video of cymatics is the one that shows you what the potential is. When you apply sound frequency to something, or electrical frequency, brainwave frequency, when we can translate our thoughts into a frequency. Let me say that again. When we can translate our thoughts into a frequency, into an energy field. Interesting. aren't we by definition doing this amazing work? And that's the
Well,
next.
I think that's exactly what we're doing as a group when we put out our intention for
Yes.
healing, you know, for the world. It is an energy that's going out. Energy, frequency, call it what you want, but that's exactly what we're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you're saying is that when we have our meetings and we get together, our frequencies are
Yes,
going beyond where
Yes.
we are, we know not where, but
yes.
somewhere.
And yes, the neurons, the brain neurons are able to do certain things electrically, but I think by us focusing and creating higher level neurological networks instead of limbic driven networks, okay? When we're not focusing on fight, flight, or freeze, you know, it's just infinite potential.
Looks like Lauber had a question.
To be fair, I would like to give an example how it works. Me, for example, it was about what I was talking about. So previously, you was working on some intention, some you did a proposal, you did a mission about the Alpha Light, and this intention together resonate in the life of the planet. And some way I have received it. So the brothers who guide me was guiding in a way to connect to you, each of you. So it was about that I was talking about. My arriving at the group was because a resonation of the intention privilege sense.
Yep, absolutely. And you can see it in water, you know, you can see it, and you can see it in the brain waves. That's the part that just got me so crazy excited, was actually being able to see it with my human eyes, you know, like, wow.